Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the third and final Forging Alliances panel at the Jomba Digital Festival. Today, we are in conversation with Sifiso Khumalo, Nomfundo Nyakale, and Thando Philison. Thando and Nomfundo come from Capasso, and Sifiso is a dancer, choreographer, also a bit of a musician. Today, we will be discussing music rights, how to use music in our Bridging the Musical Gap panel. So I would like my panelists and my lovely conversationalists to just introduce themselves before we go ahead. My name is Thobile Maphanga. Sifiso, maybe you want to go first and then the ladies can close.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you guys. My name is Sifiso Khumalo. And I'm an artist. Yeah, I work under Flatfoot Dance Company. So also I'm a choreographer. So yeah.
Thanks, Sifiso. Thando, do you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Thando Philison. I work in an organization called Capasso, and we collect what is called mechanical royalties. I head up the legal department there, so we handle mostly the business side on the music industry.
Thank you so much, Thando. And Nomfundo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nomfundo Nyakale. I'm part of the licensing team. So we are the people that bring in the money, basically, and license the usage before it goes live.
Thank you, guys. So as you can hear, we have some people who know the knows. And I think our conversation will be very, very exciting, but also we might be able to, as dance makers, or not even just dance makers, performance makers, be able to learn quite a lot today. Just to start, guys, sorry, there's a cat in the background, yeah? But just to start, guys, I mean, like with COVID-19, of course, as artists, like Sifiso and I have experienced the closing down of theaters and not being able to work because social distancing, COVID was a really hectic thing where people couldn't be in spaces, and our art relies heavily on audiences and engagement, like physical engagement. How was it for you guys? Or what was your perspective, Thando and Nomfundo, in terms of musicians? Do you know what I mean? Did you suddenly see a huge drop in what was being made and registered, or did everything just carry on as normal? Or what was your guys' experience?
Okay, I think on the licensing side, we did see a slight drop with usages for TV, but there was an increase in the online usages. So at least, that made up for the decline in the TV and radio usages. So yeah.
So yeah, that's a really interesting thing, because I think a lot of people were relying on digital content. I know that like a lot of dance companies started to release a lot of archival material. Independent dancers started like releasing, and it's not just to dancers. Again, sorry, I speak from the space of dancers because I'm a dancer, but I think people were doing like mini concerts in their homes and stuff like that. So a move to digital suddenly grew for you guys. And what are the kind of implications to that? Because of course, if music is going on TV and onto radio, that's very much an old, I don't know what to call it, a space to kind of deliver music. So there are formalities and structures already existing. Mm-hmm. Were you finding that there was the same, or was it suddenly a thing of like, how do we now negotiate that we're no longer on these platforms that are structured and and now we're moving on to this new platform, which is digital? And yes, people have been working on it, but with such a huge growth. Did that affect you guys in any way?
So,
okay, you can go through Nomfundo.
Okay.
Sorry. Just to be brief, and then Nomfundo can just take over from the licensing perspective. What we see with musicians and artists most of the time, they would get most of their income from public performance. They would go out there, do gigs, and there'll be events, and there'll be sponsorships, and this is where most of the artists would get their core payments as a form of remuneration. And because now all these events were closed off, everything went onto the digital platforms. This is when people really now had to start to know, where can I get my next income? Where can I get my next paycheck? And this is when we saw the surge on the digital platforms now, whereby we had to be firm on the licenses that we grant, to say that on the digital platforms, this is now where artists needed to just be knowledgeable and know that there isn't this kind of platform where they can get their income. So on our end, I would say that because we've been doing digital for the longest of time, it was just another learning curve, I think, for musicians and artists at large, to say, oh, I don't need to depend only if there's a gig happening there and there. I can actually make income from home. And we saw all these surges that were going on, all these live performances that were being digitized. So on our end, I'd just like to mention that part, that there is a form of income that musicians that they needed to learn on, and that is digital being the new era that they needed to focus on.
Yes, and also the revenue does not only stem from the concerts, but also from your corporate events, as well as the churches as well. So the churches were streaming these services on YouTube, on Facebook, on their websites. So composers and authors are still getting paid there.
Oh, wow.
And,
interesting. I never thought of churches. Like, I never thought that you guys were like saying, hey, you're using our music, so you must pay us.
well, I mean, even outside of the digital platform, they were already paying a license to use the music. So now that they're making the music available, even on the digital platform, a license is applicable.
Okay. Kumza, are you learning anything from these ladies? Are you thinking like you could be cashing in on some digital here?
Of course, yeah. Because as a dancer, we kind of rely on theaters and the stage where we have the audience, gracing our enjoying our works, But now, like for me, as hectic it has been for with this COVID. So for me, it was more like an eye opener as a dance maker and artist, to kind of, wow, yeah, there's these new kind of ways of to show your work to the public out there, and they can also pay, to kind of enjoy your work. So it's been a learning curve for me, and I think for the rest of other dancers as well. It's kind of, we are learning, and now the festivals has to be done on these Zooms, So it's a new way, it's a new learning, it's a new living, it's a new kind of space for us to kind of really venture into, yeah.
Yeah, and so also what I'm hearing is that, although the life has closed, it does not mean that we need to die. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that that's the end of our road. And I think one of the most amazing things, or I believe one of the most amazing things about people who work in the creative arts, is that we have a great ability to be able to almost shapeshift. If we are presented with a problem, we find creative ways to find solutions. And it seems that, although we all miss the theater and we all miss the live performances and all those things, there isn't a possibility to still be able to do the thing that you enjoy and still be able to earn some kind of income. So if I can throw it back to the Capasso ladies, perhaps you guys can maybe just, I don't know who would be best to answer this question, if it's probably you, Thando, because you're on the legal sides, but like, what is music rights, and who has rights? Like, what does that even mean? And what does it mean for for, say, a dance artist to use somebody's music that has already been published and is well known? What is that relationship, and how should we be maybe thinking, dealing, talking about that stuff? Because I think a lot of us don't know about that, and so we're afraid and we don't engage.
Okay, thank you for that question. So what people maybe do not know when it comes to music is that one piece of musical work can it gives rises to a number of rights. It's not just one right of copyrights. So copyrights is just broken down, and there are different CMOs collecting different kind of rights. We have SAMRO that focuses on the performance rights, while we focus on the reproduction rights, which means when the musical work is being copied into a different platform so that it can be published in a different way. So it's no longer in its original form. And because when you're doing dance, it mostly has to do with background music, it's no longer in its original form. So there are a couple of rights that are just linked up with the music, and it has a lot of music rights. And so what we always just encourage people who utilize music is that before that you use that music, that piece of music, it will always just be best to clear those rights with and get making sure that the composers of that musical rights of that musical work are properly compensated for. And so in the particular music, as I just said, that we have a number of rights that people need to be aware of. And we have all these societies that are collecting these rights. We have RISA, we have SAMPRA, we have SAMRO, all collecting a number of rights which stem from performance rights, needle time, and just these rights that I've just mentioned. So for in the relation of you using music, you always just want to see in what platform are you going to be distributing that work. So as a dancer, is this going to be forming parts of a theater? Are you also going to distribute this on your YouTube channel? So all these things you just need to be mindful of to see where you can utilize this music, because in some cases Nomfundo can just jump in there where we will have cases where you need to clear out some of the music that you're going to be using, and this is when the licensing team will be needed to be reached out to say that this is the process that needs to follow thereafter.
Yes, so as Thando mentioned, so basically Capasso, we exist so that music is used legally. So in the licensing department, we basically license the usages, whether it's for TV, whether it's for online, whether it's for radio. We license the reproduction that's taking place in those different platforms, but only accounting for the mechanical rights, which are the reproduction rights, as Thando has mentioned. And the licensing process is very easy. You can go on our website, go under music licensing, and click under the different types of licenses that you require.
Okay, so that's a whole bunch of information. I didn't realize that there were different kind of rights. Like that's like there's difference between performance and reproduction, is mechanical. So that's really interesting. And so for me, I don't know, Kumza, if you've got any other questions, but what I'd also like to know is that, like, sometimes you hear something, so say you go to a show and it's a local artist and they've created some really beautiful music, you watch it live and you're like, because I do this, like, oh, that would make a really great track for a dance piece. How do I find out if the music has been copywritten? I don't even know if that's the right term, because I know you get a copyright, but is it copywritten or is it copyrighted?
Copyright. It's just
what
copyright.
Is it? Copyrighted. Okay, so yeah, we're learning, guys. We're learning. But how would I find out if I knew that, the artist was Wanda K and this is the song that I really liked, where can I go to find out? Because maybe I don't know who Wanda K personally, so I can't go to her and say, hey, Wanda K, I want to use your music. how do I find out if the music has been copyrighted, and how I then start the process of maybe getting the rights to be able to use the music?
Okay, so you can definitely contact us, and we'll be able to assist you in identifying who the relevant copyright holder is. And it would either be us licensing, or it would be the copywriters who would license, depending on the type of license.
Okay.
Sometimes you may find the information on the internet, but I think it will be quicker if you approach us.
Nomfundo and Thando. So now I've bought a CD of a certain artist that I like. I like music, wow, and then use it on my show or in my dance work. So am I not entitled to the usage of music law? Because ngutengile phela, ngitsoke yami CD. So manje, so ngisenkingeni lapho if I use it now in my theaters or in some public performances.
Yeah, so now you are touching on making the work available, which means you are distributing someone's musical work onto all those spaces. And because of that, it is no longer like a private consumption where it's just you yourself alone in your living room listening to music. Now you are putting the music out there. You're making a live, like on a video for Facebook, you're making a live on YouTube. Now everybody can see and has this person's work is being exploited onto these different platforms. So in that case, their work is now out there. And now you are also gaining traction for maybe you are advertising your brand using this person's music. And in those instances, this is when now, to avoid copyright infringements and times of exploiting someone's musical work without compensating the appropriate copyright holder or the composer of that work.
Oh yeah. So manje mina as a sorry to observe. Any rights or any other kind of implications if I make my own music and create my own show or a dance show, like making my own, putting my own voice or my own song into my work. So what do I need to do there in order for my voice to be kind of legitimized or something like that, or my song ube semthethweni nabo? So if kukhona olthandayo mhlambe ishow, if they buy the whole DVD of the work, and then the song also gets some kind of recognition or compensation or something like that.
So you would definitely need to register your song or any of your compositions so that you can be remunerated. So you would need to register with the different collecting societies, so that whenever your music is used, then you can earn royalties.
Okay, so can I jump in quickly here? Because Kumsa raised a really great. If I take somebody's music, and I no longer am consuming it for myself. So I'm not in my own lounge drinking my glass of wine and just listening. I'm now saying, okay, 50,000 people, you all listen with me. And you said it's a type of exploitation. But what if I think like I'm quite a popular dancer and I've got 10,000 followers, and if I put your music out there, I'm giving you exposure. Is that not some kind of payment for the, do you know what I mean? Uguti, now my 10,000 followers will know your song.
No, it doesn't work like that. I mean, it's the same as you. I mean, if you are performing and you compose it as a DVD, and next thing you know, people are making copies and selling it, by the streets, or making it available without compensating you, it will be a problem.
Okay. So it is about the compensation. Uguti, if I put it out, I'm not acknowledging Uguti, the person who created the music should be paid for every time it's played. Am I understanding that maybe a little bit better?
Yes, so there needs to be a license in place, or permission, basically.
Or permission in place. Okay. So, and then Ukumza came in with this idea of, okay, so he understands Uguti, he can't use somebody else's music, but if he wants to use his music, I think what you were coming around to is how do I protect myself? Do you know what I mean? In the same way. And you said then he needs to register for his music to be licensed. I don't know who's best to answer this one, Thando or Nomfundo, but how would, say, Khumalo then go about getting his music registered? Like, is that a difficult thing to do? Is it super easy? Can I do it myself? Do I need to go into an office and, you need my ID number, my blood, my blood type and all those things? Or is it, is it just quick, fast?
It's a very quick process, and you can do it from home. You can register on the Capasso website. So there's membership forms available there. And we do need your ID number, and we need you to basically make a copy and upload it as you register. And then the membership fee is 100 Rand. So you pay the membership fee on an annual basis, on a yearly basis.
Okay.
So you just make a copy and send, oh, sorry.
Yes, sorry. And then you'd also complete a form called the notification of works. So there you would basically list all the tracks that you've composed, and you'd also have to include any co-composers if there are any. Yes.
Khumza, you had a question?
No, I was asking if you register, a recorded something, or it has to be also lyrical, whatever. You send the recorded song with the lyrics, or one of the two.
No, so you don't need to send us your clip of the music. What you need to give us, though, is what is called an ISRC code. This is like an ID for the song. Yes, so once you give us that, it is able to determine on which platform we use that code to source out where the song had earned or made any earnings, where it was used the most.
Okay.
So I want to ask about the membership fee, because I'm here about the money, because, struggling artists. So there's 100 Rand membership fee and it's an annual fee. Does that limit how many songs I can register? Or can I register, if I register 1,000 in a year, that's fine. And Khumza only registers fine. We both still pay 100 Rands.
Yes.
Okay,
so the 100 Rand is the admin fee, basically.
Okay, all right. And then you mentioned, sorry, Khumza, you mentioned the code, Thando, an ISR code, if I heard you correctly?
ISRC code. So
ISRC.
Yes, so RISA usually generates these codes. Like if you are a composer, you know that your song has to have an identification, like that ID specifically. So this is like an international code that can be used wherever your music is being streamed. So it is very important to have that. We always encourage our composers to put in as much metadata as possible, because there is just that way of us. There's a lot of song called I Love You. Can you just imagine if you just say the name of the song is I Love You, and then we have to, out of tens and thousands of songs called I Love You, which one would be yours? How many people have the name Sifiso? How many of, so it's just that unique code for each song so that we are able to identify where your music is being utilized, basically.
Sorry, Nomfundo, that fee you were talking about, the 100 Rands one, do I have to pay it like yearly, or is it like a once-off thing once I'm registered with you?
Yearly. Yes.
Okay, guys, we have a question from an audience member. So I'm going to quickly just read it. It says, what is fair usage policy and how does that impact copyright?
I am not sure if I understand the question, but what I can say is they want to know when is it okay for fair usage. I am not sure what that may mean and how it impacts copyright. But just for purposes of trying to just decipher what the question actually means, is that when is it okay to use perhaps someone's work and it is fair. I would say perhaps maybe in terms of the copyrights, where we can just say in just brief terms, because we're just being brief and people must understand, is that there are situations where it is okay to use a person's work without really going to copyrights and it not being copyright infringements. So this is perhaps for educational purposes, or for perhaps for purposes of archives purposes. So basically the main point is like for education purposes, that is the general exception. And it does impact copyright, if you guys just need to know, just for noticing purposes. The copyright, the bill for copyright, it's currently under Parliament review. There's a lot of submissions that have been made by people of interest, and it does affect music rights as well. So these bills are currently under review from Parliament, and it hasn't been set to stone at the moment. Once all these reviews have been done and the Parliament houses have taken into account all the recommendations and what changes they need to take into account, then it will be a bill that is passed, because as it stands, our bill is, our copyright is currently outdated in that it doesn't incorporate things of digital and all those sort of things. So it's going to be affecting a lot of musicians. So it is something that I would like to get out there for members to just be aware of, and then just look at all the recommendations that have been heard, look at the public hearings that have been made on the bill, so that you can see and have a voice. It is something that Capasso is also just part of, to say that the bill will affect artists in this and that way. So if it being passed in as it stands, what rights will be affected by the rights holders of the copyrights.
Okay, so you've said a couple of things, Thando, that I'm...
Sorry, I know it's quite complex. It's even complex for like attorneys, it's complex just in general. So I was just trying to decipher what the question was actually trying to say with their usage. So I was just trying to see if perhaps the person is speaking about where is it acceptable, because in every right there are exceptions. So I was just trying to decipher if that is what the person was trying to say.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for that. And I think what piqued me is that you said, like, if you're using, so one of the exceptions is if you are using music for educational purposes, then there's some kind of exception that occurs. I'm assuming because educational purposes, we're trying to grow, nurture, whether it's young or old or whatever the case is, but it's not about perhaps an economical or a capital kind of gain, but it is to enrich and to give back in a certain way. But can I just assume, so like say there's a track, I'm creating some slides for drama students at DUT or UKZN, they're in second year, and I decide that I want to use a track on the slide. I'm just going to use it because it's only going to be used in a classroom space, or do I still need to check and apply before I use?
I think in those cases, what may happen is that if you do get like a situation like that, that is an exception you could use as a defense mechanism to say, listen, I did not do this for the gain or for commercial purposes. This is strictly for educational purposes. And then you back it up with saying it was only used in a classroom. These were the only students that were present and all that sort. It's something perhaps it's like an exception as a defense as well that you could use in case there are points where you are being sued in court or something to that effect. So it's nothing major.
Sorry, Thando. Does that also apply when I'm using the music like in a festival, but also working with the youth, so because we also do these outreach programs as dancers, so where we teach the youngies and then also bring them into these kinds of festivals to kind of maybe get a feel of how professional dancers or artists work. So now in the festival, that people sometimes do pay to come to see the festival, And then in these youngies, in this project I'm working with, I'm using so and so's music. So does that also apply? Because I'm using the young ones here, of which Mina as a choreographer, I'm not getting paid by the festival to kind of perform. It's just a platform for the outreach project, programs to kind of have the young ones perform on stage. I don't know, Young Tolana.
Yeah,
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think just in simple terms, or just simple answers to give you is that it's about justifications and the grounds for that, and what you need to do just to be on the safe side. It's always just to get that clearance from the copyright owner. That will just also make sure to say, listen, I'm going to use your music for these purposes. Is it okay? So that you can just have that arrangement with the copyright owner, so that we do not face situations where an infringement legal thing is going to ensue.
Okay. So that's really great to know. And I would imagine then in that kind of situation, you'd hope to get something in writing, so that if suddenly something happens, you can say, "Kodwa ngimthintile lo muntu," and they said it was okay for me to use the music. And I'd like to follow on to Khumalo's question, because I've recently just had one of my films screened, and I contacted my friends so that I knew that were musicians, and I said to them, I'm looking for music to use in my film. I've looked at some of your stuff and I like this and I like this. Is that fine? So if I go directly to the source and I say to them, I really like this song, I want to use it for a dance film that I'm about to create, or I'm about to do a live performance. Can I use your music because I think it would fit really well? And the person says yes, because we're friends or whatever. Is that okay? Or would I still need to go through the legal, technical kind of go to Capasso and say, I'm wanting to use A, B, and C for what?
So sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. So it depends, because your friends might be published. And if they are published, it means that the people who hold those rights would be the publishers.
Okay. So the musician doesn't necessarily hold their own rights. So you can't just be like, okay.
Yeah.
So they would get the publishers to basically administer on their behalf.
So in terms of live performances, so I'm inviting an artist, like let's say I know Bab Matala Gunene, and Bab Matala Gunene ngicela kusebenzisa umculo wakho la kule performance, like maybe it's 1, 2 or 3 shows that we're going to do, and then we pay each other to senze lo msebenzi lo, and hence usebenzisa yena umculo wakhe of which is published, or so nalapho, does that also apply what you just said now?
So is he self-published, or does he have a publisher?
Maybe I think he does have a publisher.
If he's self-published, what you need to do is draft an agreement, basically stating the terms and conditions and agree on a rate and so forth, so that later on he doesn't come back to you saying you didn't pay him, and yes. And then if he's published, you definitely need to reach out to the publisher, or you can reach out to Capasso. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm learning a whole bunch. I'm learning a whole bunch here. So I'm so grateful about this platform, because it's I mean, when you guys speak about these things, and when you speak about the separation of like the musician, the publisher, who owns and who doesn't own, it makes sense. But I think we don't think about those things because we assume, or at least I assume, Uguti, if I've created choreography, it's my choreography. For somebody else to then go and steal my choreography is not such an easy thing to do. And if they wanted to use my choreography, they'd have to come to me to ask. They wouldn't have to be a third person who's like, say, a publisher. So for me, that is something that my brain would never even go to. Would say, hey, yebo ngiyamazi ubaba madala, but I mustn't speak to Baba Matala. I must actually speak to Baba Matala. I must find out from Baba Matala who his publisher is before we can even begin this kind of relationship. Yeah, so that's really interesting. Kumza, I just if maybe we can kind of swing a little bit to also like selection, because I think sometimes what I know of as we've come into this digital age is that festivals like Jomba will say when they are when they are sending out a call to either the call for application platforms, or if you've been granted a grant, or if you are being invited onto the festival, they will clearly stipulate Uguti, the festival does not cover the music rights. And for platforms where it's like call to application, so it's a lot of new and younger dancers that are coming through, or if it's the digital edge, for instance, where commissions are being sent out to emerging dance makers. So these are people who are kind of, not that they are novices in the industry of dance, but they haven't had a career that's too long. They're still coming in, they're still learning. There will state that they're not looking after the rights, the purchasing of the rights or whatever. But then they'll say, Uguti, but there are platforms where you will get copyright-free music and stuff like that. And maybe before I ask you, Kumza, maybe Nomfundo can tell us, what is copyright-free music, and like how does that sit within, like who chooses, why is some music copyright-free and some of it's copywritten? Do you know, or is this?
So basically there are royalty-free sites actually, and of course there are also illegal sites who are uploading other people's music and making it available illegally. But we really don't encourage music users using those platforms. We encourage music users to use platforms that are legally liable to actually offer music. Because at the end of the day, it then robs our composers and authors, from receiving royalties that are due to them. And it also affects the growth of the industry.
Yeah. I get that whole robbing thing. Artists get robbed all the time. But Kumza, maybe for you in that, because I think some of the copyright-free platforms, I think, are legal, where people have created stuff and they're like, you can have it, I don't need it, or whatever the case is. But there's often like so much music on there, like you don't know how to find, do you know what I mean? Kumza, like, how do you select music for your works? Because I ask you because, and this is why I've got you on the panel, is that I think you are one of those choreographers that always has the most interesting music. It's often, you don't necessarily go for stuff that has vocals on it, but you've managed to curate an entire career of beautiful dance work, but that is supported with such evocative and really, really just like timely music, and it fits so nicely with the stories that you're telling, or the feelings that you're hoping for us to achieve. So what is your process of selecting music or finding music? Do you have any tips for new people who are coming in, what to do? How did you get so good?
Hi, son. Yeah, for me, I think it depends on the nature of work that one wants to do, or that one feels they want to do. And also, I think that also inspires the choice of music you want to use in the work. And also, once you have that music, that music can also transform your idea that you had in your head first, like initially, to something else. But one has to really listen to the music they want to use, maybe at different kinds of music they want to pick from, to kind of inspire more of their creation during the creation process. So yeah, you don't like really listen to one song or one album of like maybe a particular artist, or you choose like a lot of artists, maybe 10 CDs or 10 whatever albums to kind of listen to, and then your ideas around choreography, around your creation will be kind of assisted by just one. Maybe from the 10 selected song or albums, you won't even find the song you think can work for that particular kind of work you want to do, you know. So it is really like a kind of, you have to sleep and think your music through. Yeah.
So what Capasso can also assist you with, in that instance, we also have production music, which is also known as mood music, and it's also known as background music. It's very cost effective. We administer over 4 million, and it's music that's, you know, it's got your African fields, it's got your classical fields, kwaito, and pop. So any type of genre that you are looking for, you can get there. So what you can do is send us a brief of, you know, the type of music that you are looking for, and then we can assist you with the search and then send you the options for you to listen.
Nice.
Wow, that's really good to know. So basically, it's like you guys are like this massive music library, and like I can go to you as the librarian and say, like, I'm looking for this type of music, and you guys will say to me, okay, cool, this is what we've got, and then I can just like go through it and then be able to already from that space apply for whatever rights that I want if I decide to choose something from your library.
Yes.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, correct.
That's very, very cool.
That's pashash, because now we don't have to go to these look and listens, and then we stand there for like 7 hours listening to this, you know. So I didn't know about that. So
no idea.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. That's, I like, wow, I also didn't know, Kumza. This is amazing. So we've got another question from our audience, and they're saying, what about using services like YouTube and TikTok, etc., which allows you to use music and then it pays the publisher any ad revenue? Do you still have to pay for rights through an organization like Capasso in those cases?
So it would depend on how you're making use of the music. Are you creating an advert or a promo? So if you are using it commercially, you would require a license.
Okay. But if I was just using it for my YouTube channel, same time, I've got a blog, and I have quite a few followers. So I've gotten my YouTube channel to a point where people are now starting to advertise on my YouTube channel, and maybe I use a song like as a theme intro song, or, you know, or maybe like, I don't know, there's like a little montage I put together and I use a song over it. I think this is what the person who's asked this question is saying, is that if there is already revenue being created off my site because I've got so many followers, would I still need to go to Capasso to get the licensing before I even put it? Because putting it on the platform, like you guys were saying, is like a distribution, you know? I now suddenly have a relationship outside of the creators and the publishers where I'm now in control of who's listening or not listening to the music. So even if I've got if I'm making revenue off ads, and I think I'm not sure because I'm not good with the social medias and the YouTubes and the TikToks of the nowadays. But it sounds like they're saying, and then it pays the publisher any ad revenue. I'm assuming ad revenue goes directly to the publisher. Is that a thing?
Not sure if it's my internet. Struggling to hear you.
Thobile.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys. Okay, let me repeat that. Sorry, let me repeat that. So the question was, what about using services like YouTube and TikTok, etc., which allows you to use music, and then it pays the publisher any ad revenue? Do you still have to pay for rights through an organization like Capasso?
So in short, with services like YouTube and TikTok, what I always just advise people is that there are a lot of music sites out there, music DSPs, we call them DSPs, they're digital services platform. And what we do in Capasso, in the licensing department, the ones that Nomfundo is in, we approach these music using platforms, and say, have a license with Capasso, so that, and then we have to have an arrangement with them. So for all the music usage that was used on their platform, they would give us a report to say this is all the music that has been used in our platform. And then we do that whole process with the society to say, this is, since we use so much music, the royalties of this music is this. And then we collect those license fees and make the remunerations to the publishers and the actual composers of the musical works whose works were used there. So for private usages and stuff like that, we don't approach people to say, hey, you used music here, because that is already covered by the license that we have with the particular music, especially YouTube and TikTok, which is one of our biggest licenses at the moment anyway.
Okay. So you guys basically are saying those platforms are covered. Like if you're on those platforms and you know you're properly registered on those platforms, they are able to track when the music is they're doing the reporting. So as the end user who's putting up videos, I don't have to worry about it because it's already been worried about. Okay, so that's really good. I don't know, Kumza, have you tried the TikTok vibes? I haven't, but I know T is big on TikTok. I've never even gone on to TikTok. But
No, TikTok and myself, no, I'm not good with TikTok. I haven't.
Do you think it's because we're old, Kumza?
Well, because you're old. No, I'm not old. So
okay, so yeah, so that's something else that I didn't actually think of. So thank you for that question.
So another thing we usually do is that on our website, we usually just update to see these are the licensed services that we have in place, you know. So people mustn't come in, so that members don't get it confused to say, my work was used in Fagaza. We don't collect Fagaza. Fagaza is those sites that, you know, they're just problematic, which just distributes people's music without compensating the copyright owners. So what we usually do, just to avoid that whole mix-up, we usually just give like an updated list to say, these are all the licensed services that we have in place.
Okay, that's good to know. And is that being updated all the time? Because I can imagine also with the ever-changing climate that we are in, you know, like I don't think, I might be wrong because I'm not a TikToker, but I don't think like 2-3 years ago TikTok existed. Do you know what I mean? So I'm sure that, you know, there wasn't kind of any structures or legal kind of frameworks that existed for the protection of people's rights using such a platform. And so as new platforms are coming through, you guys are having to rethink, okay, now this is another opportunity for our artists to be exploited. How do we protect? Is that okay? So so people need to also keep an eye out on your website. We can find this information on your website to say, if I'm finding music on this website, is it legally okay to, or is it this music is just kind of being put out there, nobody knows that it's been put out there, and I might actually be using this music to some artist's detriment, where they won't be compensated correctly.
Yes, that is correct. It is constant. It's a constant work in progress of us licensing all these music users. So we just always just encourage as well the music users, the importance of them having a license, of how it benefits the actual people who are behind the creative planning and the creativeness of the musical work that is being exploited, you know. So yeah, it's a continuous process. But if you just need more clarity, as Nomfundo had said, we are always just available. You just give us a call. You would like to speak to us. It always just aids us as well to see, oh, there's a new platform here, of which, okay, we will try sourcing that out or something like that. So it's always just a continuous process of licensing.
Okay, can I ask, just on that note, perhaps can you just give us the platforms that people would be able to find your information? So if you can give us your website address or contact details. So if anybody who's listening to this this conversation, they can hear it, but also if anybody comes back, so this this discussion will go onto our Facebook page and our YouTube page, and it will be online for a while so that artists can access. And I think what I've learned from you guys is that all this information is available for us. We just need to know where to look for it and who to ask. So yeah, Nomfundo has just typed up into our chat that the website is www.capasso, spelled capasso.co.za. That's the website. And then do you guys have is it like a call center number that you might have that you might want to share with us? Or is there any other way that artists, because I think, you know, I didn't know for the longest time, you know, and I didn't need to know. But now that we are living in a world where things are shifting, I'm afraid sometimes that I might be doing the wrong thing, but I also don't know how to find out, you know. And I think this is why this conversation had to happen at Jomba, is that many people are coming through. Actually, I've got a question. So one of the artists or companies that wanted to submit some work sent to our production manager an email saying that they had gone and sought out a legal a letter from their lawyers, where the lawyer kind of stated that because the music was being used for a piece that was not going to gain any kind of commercial earnings, they wouldn't have to get music rights. And one of the questions as the Jomba team that we were asking ourselves is that, can somebody personally just decide for themselves, okay, cool, I'm not going to be using this dance piece or this piece of theater to sell tickets and earn money, so I'm going to get a lawyer's letter stating that, almost like an affidavit-y type of situation where you say, I so-and-so am using this music for this performance and there will be no tickets. So I have not sought to get to find out about like the rights or to get rights to this music. Is that an okay thing to do?
I wouldn't say it's an okay thing to do, because at the end of the day, the lawyer does not have control over those, over the music. So they would definitely need to contact either Capasso, or if they do know the copyright holder, they can contact the copyright holder and ask for permission. Yes.
So I can't just on my own decide, actually, I'm just going to write this letter and everything's going to be fine. No.
No.
I still
need to ask for permission from the relevant copyright holder.
Okay, cool. I see that you guys have put up a number that we can call. So if anybody is looking for information or wanting to get a hold of Capasso, if they're unsure of anything, they can call this number. It's 060-831-2079. So that's 060-831-2079. There's also an email address that can be used, which is info, info, at Capasso, capasso.co.za. So you can just send your questions to info@capasso.co.za, or give a call to the 060-831-2079.
You can also catch us on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we also just going to reinstate our Instagram, so they can just check out our pages. Because we do sometimes host masterclasses whereby we are just out there doing events, just educating people within the music industry.
Perfect. That's great to know. So you guys also do education, you do like programs where if things have changed, you then set up something where you start to share the information. So yeah, everybody who's out there who's listening to this conversation, I think Capasso is really great because they've made themselves available to us. They're on many platforms. So let's not be lazy and not do the right things. Rather, let's ask, find out how to do the right things. And as these ladies have made it sound, it doesn't sound like it's that difficult, and it doesn't sound like it's this massive challenge. So let's all do the right things, because I think as artists, we all know the struggle of not being paid for your work or being valued for your work. So that's a really, really good thing to know. Guys, we are 5 minutes away from the end of this panel. So I would also just like, is there anything that you guys want to raise in the last 5 minutes, or anything that you would like to share or say, anything you want our listeners or watchers to kind of take away from today's thing that you kind of, we haven't touched on, but you feel like is a really vital thing? Maybe start with Thando, then go to Nomfundo, and then Sifiso, you can be the gentleman at the end.
Nothing much on my side. I just would like to say thank you for this platform. One of our aims, I know at Capasso, is to just try and make awareness of what is happening within the music industry as much as we can. There's a lot of non-information, or can I say lack of information within the music industry, and it is always just a pleasure to be given such platforms where we can just share the knowledge that we have in order to aid musicians and creatives out there, to say that, listen, there are mechanisms, or there are avenues for you guys to just exploit and just try to find out, and just try to read as much as you can upon certain subjects, as just try to find out as much as you can on platforms. So I'd just like to thank the Jomba team as well for this platform, and wherever when people want to learn more, they can always just reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to assist.
Thanks, Thando. Thank you. Thank you for joining us and giving the time to share on our platform. We really do appreciate this. Over to you, Nomfundo.
I also want to say thank you for the invite. And I mean, I think it's important that music users are aware that music needs to be licensed. You know, we can never stop reminding people or encouraging people the importance of using music correctly. And as much as they benefit, the composers also need to benefit. And as Thando said, we are available. They can reach us on our social media platforms, or they can call us or email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nomfundo. And you, Sifiso, what are your last comments out there?
Yes. Yeah, thanks to the Jomba team for giving us this platform. I just hope most of our dancers who are also music users, because we dance using the music, so get to learn a lot through this program today. So, and I just wish, I don't know how, maybe if we could have maybe workshops for the dancers, like the dancing artists, to kind of have maybe more, maybe, I don't know if there's more in-depth or information about these music use, legalities, because Bettina, we use music most of the time. So, and then we want to post on Bookface, post on these YouTubes, and most of us don't really know, or the laws around these music usages. So I just, I don't know, but yeah, the information is right there. If any dancing company wants to use your services, the Capasso services, yeah. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kumza, and thank you very much to my wonderful conversationalists. I think this was a great chat, and I think there's more that we could talk about. Unfortunately, we are limited to time. And Kumza, I think that's also a really great, suggestion or thought, that as people who are consuming and on the other end of the but also as creators ourselves, how do we engage better and how do we learn more about this? I think it's very important. Like you say, social media has become such a vital part of our lives. People can't live without being able to access and post and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really for us to learn more. And I think maybe today we've just started, the first step in a very long relationship with Capasso, and helping each other understand what roles we play, and how we can assist each other to make sure that we value each other's work in the right way, and we make sure that we are all compensated in the right way. We are right at 4:00, so unfortunately we will have to end this session. I'd like to say thank you very much to you, Thando, Nomfundo, and Sifiso. I'd also like to say thank you very much to Jomba for allowing us to have this time and for being innovative enough to want to engage with industry professionals where we get to talk about things. For me, I've learned a lot, but I've also, with the learning, I've got more questions. So I hope we can do this again next year. And everybody, please enjoy the rest of Jomba tonight at 7 o'clock. We have another beautiful screening. I think tonight is Limon, which is an American company. I'm hoping that I'm right there. But please engage with us on our YouTube channels. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. So please like, share, watch with your family and friends, support the arts, because it has been a really hard time for all of us. So, and we've curated a really beautiful festival from all across the world. So thank you very much for joining us, and please keep watching. Jomba goes on for a few more days. We only end on the 5th of September. So please keep engaging. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.